I thought it would be prudent to tell you a little bit about where my conclusion that we are not alone in the universe comes from. How did I formulate the idea, the belief? It's not really a belief because there's evidence, there's observation. How do I formulate the idea that there are extraterrestrial beings, what I call star beings or stellan beings, star beings? Because that's a crazy concept that is completely outside of what the mainstream is talking about. That's completely outside of science. That's completely outside of NASA, who people think, well, if there were ETs, NASA would have observed it. And then you get into the discussion, which is a misleading discussion. If they were here, why don't they show up? That's one of the ways of manipulation, because the people creating that argument know they're here and they know the reasons why they won't show up. So they create this argument. It's like a looping argument. There's no solution, there's no answer, and people just get frustrated, and when you get frustrated, you shut off. So there's a lot of manipulation, there's a lot of disinformation. So let me tell you some of my experiences over the last 12 years. Some. So this is like 1%. It's literally like 1%. It all started in 2005. 2005 in November, in my bachelor apartment in Vancouver, British Columbia. Yes, Canada. The aliens are in Canada. Help us! You do need a sense of humor. That's one thing that's missing from this topic, is sense of humor. And that's because it's so full of disinformation and dark energy and lies and fear. So November, I'm in my apartment. It's about 2 or 3 in the morning on the computer. It's a bachelor suite, so it's one room and a kitchen. I feel this wave. It's like a wave of energy, palpable. It's like if it was water, but it's not water. I felt it. I never felt it before. This is all new. I turned around and there were 3 tall beings standing there. I could feel them. I feel the presence of 3 tall beings, and they were human looking. What I call elves. They had these sharp features and they were well dressed, but they were kind of cloaked. They were kind of like cloaked, that they weren't in full solid matter, but they were cloaked. And that's just one of the engagement, that's just one of the ways that an advanced being communicates with somebody. You don't want to scare people. You want to make sure information is conveyed, and then people they don't dwell on the experience. You want, maybe if they came in a full physical form, I would be so focused on these people that it would maybe undermine the message or the communication. Right, and then people say, well, if they were there, why didn't you take a picture? I always say, why did you take a picture? Because the truth is, these things happen, they're very absorbing. The last thing you're thinking about, let's take a picture, because you're like, I don't want to miss this. I'm here. So they communicate. There was a communication, there was a telepathic communication that it's like a radio. So imagine a radio, you can hear radio in your head. I mean, it's that sharp and clear. And there were some things said, and they came back the next 2 nights, so 3 nights, they came back, and each time I was able to see a bit more, and I was able to confirm things. Were they human looking? Were they cloaked? What was the energy? And on the last day, or maybe the second or last day, I think it's even the second time, as soon as I felt the energy, I turned around and I saw that there was this portal open in time and space. And you can see this if you have a second sight, if you have the second sight or third eye. There's this portal, and they stepped through the portal, and when they left, they stepped through the portal, and the portal shut, and everything in the room changed, right? So on the last day, I saw them come in. So the first time I didn't see them, the second time I saw them come in, and we had a discussion, and then they left, and the portal closed, and then everything returned back to normal. I mean, this is there are many elements. There was the sound, there was the physical people, there was the presence. So imagine you close your eyes, and there's 3 people standing in front of you. You can feel it. And these people are high energy beings. So that started this, and even then I was like, no big deal, no big deal. I was trying to deny it, I tried to avoid it. And you try to think, why are you bothering me? They told me a lot of things. They said, why are you bothering me? I agree, you're probably some kind of interdimensional being, and you're advanced, but what's that got to do with me? That was my concern. It's like, that's very nice, but why? It's like Einstein comes over to your house and tells you all kinds of stuff. E equals MC squared. It's like, yes, Dr. Einstein, but I'm not a scientist. Maybe try the house down the corridor. So, but you take in the modality, right? The protocol, how to approach somebody, how they communicate. They were very polite, how they were intelligent. They didn't say anything really crazy. There was no message to humanity. And you take in the energy reading and the port, all that stuff. Well, about 6 months later, so I went through this 4-month process of rearranging my life and waking up. And it's a very traumatic, upsetting event. And during that time, I would meet these small beings. They were 3 or 4 feet high. They're small, spindly beings. And they were quite friendly. They were quite, they were energetic. And there was lots of them. Usually there's lots of these little beings. So this is, and then I met some other beings as well during that time. So these beings were intelligent. They can get in, they can portal in, and they can portal out. And you had different beings. I had this when I was, so this happened, and after about 6 months, I went to this workshop to meet people who also had contact. And I met other people who had contact. And in one of the breaks, I got the message to go to the beach. We were near a beach, and I went to the beach. And so when I got to the beach, this being appeared in very similar fashion to the 3 men, or the 2 men and a woman. And is a very tall, I would say 8 or 9 feet tall. This is a woman, a female, but it had insect-like qualities. It was a kind of like some people call it the mantis, the mantids. So here I am on a beach with this, and the energy is unmistakable. It's even stronger in some ways to the other 3. and it's a tall being, and it is an alien, but it's cloaked. She was cloaked, absolutely. So then let's jump forward a few more months. I started to work with ships. I started to work with starships, and it was a very difficult time. A lot of crazy stuff happening. But on one particular day, I felt energetic. I felt I felt defeated. Sorry, I felt defeated on a particular day because there's a lot of interference and there's a lot of stuff happening, and this stuff is way above my head, and there's a lot of pressure, and I was financially destitute, and so I didn't have much food, and so so I was kind of down. So I went to this place where I would meet some of these smaller stellans, right? These 3 or 4 foot stellans, and they're very kind, they're very playful. They've never attacked me. So it's nice to be around them, and they just let you do your thing. And they have a sense of humor, actually. And I was trying to practice to connect to a ship. And this particular day, I had some incentive, I had some help, and I was able to call a ship. And literally, I mean, it's like a dark cloud formed a portal and a starship, and then I could feel the ship coming through the portal. And then it came out, and I was so enthralled, you know, I was like, wow. Well, I was like, this is incredible. And I kind of lost my focus, and the thing went shoop, gone. Now, why is that relevant? Because fast forward a couple of years later, I was in Richmond, British Columbia, at the mall, the local mall, a little corner mall. And I looked up and I saw this same dark cloud opening up. Now this is in the sky, it's a blue sky, and a black ship, an ovoid ship, came out of this portal. And after it came out of the portal, the cloud disappeared, and the ship hovered there, and it became silver. So it went from black to silver, and I could see it as clear as day. So this is not cloaked at all. This is like a silver ovoid ship had come through the portal. And it sat there for about 30 seconds, and I thought, okay, let's grab a camera. I got my iPhone, and it's too far away for the iPhone. You can't zoom in on it. I had the early iPhone, you can't zoom in on it. So this is about 10 years ago. Yeah, this is about 8 or 9 years ago. And then the ship, so I just watched it. Silver ship, ovoid. About a minute later, it just went, just vanished. That's unmistakable. More recently, I met, and there's been all kinds of contact. I'm not going to go through all of them. There's all kinds of beings. There are insects, you know. So I've met insect beings. I've met the short beings. I've met blue-skinned beings. There was when I was with the UFO group, there was a woman who said that there's this blue-skinned man with white hair, and he's short, and he came into their room at nighttime and started going after the children. And she was very nervous and scared. She said, what am I supposed to do? This guy, he's a blue-skinned guy with white hair, And he's after my children. And the woman's like fighting. She wants to fight off this alien. So I looked into it because I had connection to these people. And I found out that the guy is a healer. And he wants to heal the children. Because you don't know, sometimes there are malevolent beings. So I wrote back to the lady, I said, this guy, he's a healer, he wants to heal the children. Because children, they go through upgrades or they're hybrids, and so they need follow-up medical attention, right, to service them, right? Once you create a hybrid, you have to look after it for the rest of the life. And so the woman, once she understood, right, and then once the blue man, the blue healer, was able to do his job, he didn't have to come back, right? Because every time he came over, he got attacked. Stay away from my children! But this is all because there's no communication, there's no understanding, there's disinformation, and these people, the healers, don't have time to explain everything to 1,000 families a day, right? It's like your doctor. Imagine every time you go to your doctor, every time the doctor tries to help your kid, you're attacking the doctor. It's like he can't do his job because there's no understanding, there's no communication, because this stuff is censored, it's distorted, there's disinformation. It's hard to prove. I can't prove that the blue-skinned man with white hair came in there. Until people see a picture, they're going to say, maybe he's making it up. But so what I'm sharing is just a sample. I mean, I'm talking after 12 years now, it's thousands of interactions. That some could be delusional, some could be, manipulated, but not all of them. Now, as I woke up, I realized, I remembered what happened when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I remembered, and these memories were blocked or repressed. I remembered at nighttime when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, I was a teenager, young teenager, the same beings I was communicating with now, the 3-4 foot tall beings, would come through the wall in my bedroom, and they would be very playful, and they would take me through the wall. And I would come back in the morning, and when I woke up, I was a lot happier, right? Usually they came when I was very depressed or dealing with something. They would come for a visit, and they'd take you out to play, to the ship. And then I woke up, and I was happy again. So I had this happy, I had this happy disposition, even though things were bad. Well, you were sad last night. Of course, I didn't remember any of that until, many decades later. So sometimes you're dealing with repressed memories, you're dealing with beings that don't show up in a physical form. At one point during, about 10 years ago, one of the small beings grabbed my hand. I was having a tough time with coming to terms with all of this stuff that I'm connected to these people because I had no memory of it. And so one of the beings, one of these short stellans, they grabbed my hand, and I could feel like a kid's hand. And it was there's this kind of like this, it kind of had this sticky quality to it, and it kind of had this energetic quality to it. It didn't feel comfortable, actually. It's electric, almost like electrified a little bit. And it had a sticky quality to it. And at first I wanted to let go, but then I thought, okay, well, this doesn't happen very often. And he held my hand for many hours. This little star being. And when he left, my hand was numb. Like parts of my hand were numb from where the fingers were. They were like, you know, it's like numb from electricity, right? It's like a little vibration, and it was a little bit sticky, and you can't see anything, right? And it eventually wore off. But you can feel. So there's this. It's palpable. You can feel somebody holding your hand. That's palpable. You see a ship. It's visual. You can feel three beings, right? Now in recent years, and I've seen other beings. I've seen felines. There's these their cats are very intelligent. I can't remember, Tregarians. I think I call them the Tregarians. Cat, it's like a lion face, tiger face. Not really a lion face, but some qualities. Very high energy. They're very cautious who they talk with. I've seen birds. So, you know, in the recent years, the Corey Good started talking about the blue avians. These blue bird-like beings that he had been talking to. Well, I had been talking to the same people before he came out. I had been speaking with these beings. I didn't see them as blue birds, humanoid birds. But one of their shapes is the blue humanoid bird. Okay, so when it's one of their shapes, so the shape the form I was speaking to was a different form. And when Corey said he's been contacted by these blue avians, you know, I didn't think of them as blue avians, but I recognized the race because it's a genuine race. It's a genuine race. My only argument is they're not necessarily avians. So now let's just finish with this. That the advanced beings have a protocol of engagement, right? Because when dealing with a lesser developed life form, when dealing with a life form that's more primitive or unawakened or fearful, they have a protocol. The protocol is they take a certain shape. Now they might appear as an angel. They can take that shape. They might appear as a bird. They might take that shape. They might even appear as an animal, right? They might appear as an ancestor, a grandfather who's passed away. So depending on the person they're communicating with will determine the shape of engagement. So the more receptive you are, the more aware you are, the less afraid you are, you're more likely to see who they are. So at one point you may see them as an angel, and then the next time you see them as something else, because you might be progressing, you might be building that trust, and the next time you might be seeing them as something else. Their true form is hard to know. The cats, so the felines, I call them the Tregarians, they're very good at changing their shape. So you almost would never know they're felines unless they really can trust you. So they could appear as a gray-skinned alien, right? They can appear as a gray-skinned alien. They can appear as a blonde woman. They can appear as an angel, an archangel. But underneath, it could be a feline. You may never know. You may never know unless you have the awareness. And so this field, a lot of it's based on awareness, because awareness and knowledge is what I say, awareness and knowledge. They engage you at your level of awareness and knowledge. And people say, well, why aren't they visiting me? Because you have no awareness and you have no knowledge. Or you have the wrong awareness and the wrong knowledge. So there's no point, right? There's no point in engaging you because you're not in the right mindset. And a lot of times they will test people, and they will start communicating with people, and they will build that relationship. So for me now, after many years, even I see different things. So when Corey Good starts talking about the blue avians, I didn't recognize them as the blue avian, but it's the same race. I'd recognize them as something else. And then I had a contact with them, and they showed me that they're the blue avian. And then I had another, they came by another time, and I saw them, they're the blue avian. But actually it's an intermediary. So I think it's an intermediary, that they are something else. But they're very advanced. These people are very advanced. Don't. And they're genuine. So when Corey Good says he's communicating with these people, I know that they're genuine, because I've had contact with them. To me, they're genuine. That doesn't mean everything that this person will contact is genuine, but that particular race, stick to the facts. Okay, I meant this to be a shorter video, but it's very long. The point is, there's many kinds of races, and they may take different shapes based on your awareness and knowledge. Some are more advanced than others. So the mantids, I have a very close relationship with the mantids. The mantids, some are very tall, some are not so tall. They're an enlightened race. They're a very spiritual race. They may hang around with spiritual people, really spiritual people, Buddhists. So the mantids, and I have a very good relationship. I have a close relationship with mantids, and so far there's never been a problem. So you have a certain preference, and like the birds. So the blue avian, I don't see them as blue avian, but there's something, and they're very advanced. Maybe even I don't fully understand them, because it's not a race that I specifically communicate with, and they're relatively new. They came here only 3 years ago, 2014, about 2 or 3 years ago, that I'm aware of it, that they came here. Okay, so there's lots of races. The felines, I like the felines. The felines are they're very sensitive. It's a beautiful race, the Trigarians. And there's multiple kinds, they're very nice. But, they're very elusive. They're very fast. The short beings, some people call them the grays, the evil grays. They're not evil. They're very playful. There's the 3 or 4 foot tall stellans. They're very playful. They usually come in numbers. When they usually appear, they come in there's 10 of them or 12 of them. And they're very playful. Their energy is very comforting and happy. And they're very close. All of these people are very close. I mean, they're just on the edge of awareness. They're right here. So this is awareness, and then they're right here. See that? See my hand? That's where they are. So if if you have a connection to these people, they can show up like that. That's how easy it is. The fact that NASA and scientists are scouring the universe for intelligence, it just baffles the human mind of the stupidity. Or it's just a big distraction. I'll let you decide. Either they're really stupid or they're just distracting you from the truth. The truth is right here. It's right here. Right in front of your face. So there are many beings. I've seen other kinds of ships. I've been on ships. As a kid, I've been on ships. And as an adult, I've been on ships. And I've interacted with many beings, either face to face or on a ship. So when people say, well, you know, why do you believe these things? It's not I believe it. It's just there's so much of it going on. It's just a fact. It is a fact. But it's not something for everybody. This is not, this is not something that everybody would be interested in. And even people who have a connection, this is maybe not something that they want. They want to do something else. And this is not something that I was interested in the beginning. I didn't want to get into this. I didn't want to know about it. I wanted to forget it. But there's just so much of it. I just said, all right. All right. And even 12 years later, I can't deny it. I realize scientists, they want pictures and proof and measurable things, and I know the audience, they need stuff, but that'll come in time. In time you'll see it all. But this is a video for people who are already having contact, right? Genuine contact, because there's a lot of deception. There are no Pleiadians or Arcturians. That's all a deception, right? So that's a whole different discussion. There are genuine beings here right now. They've been here at least since I was a child. So that's, I was born a long time ago. So they've been here, as far as I'm concerned, they've been here for decades. My first contact was when I was 3. So they've been here for, just in my lifetime, they've been here a long time. The fact that you don't know, or the public doesn't know, or the mainstream doesn't know, that's the problem. That's the censorship. That's the suppression, right? It doesn't change the fact. The fact is that people are being contacted. There are different races of stellans here, now, in the universe. And the reason I still write about this stuff, talk about this stuff, because I have too many experiences to just not agree with it. But you don't have to agree with it.